Shmai, bore da, good morning, this is Dan and welcome back to another right nice place. And the reason I'm jiggling about a little bit is I've come on another walk with our Maxi today. After the last couple of videos I've done, I've been up Connecton. Look at that, a hawk just flying behind me, how cool is that? Sorry to be interrupted. Yeah, and welcome back to a right nice place today. I am in Capel Curig, which is part of the Eryri National Park and a beautiful village, if not my favourite village in all of Eryri. And yeah, so I'm in this wonderful car park here, I'll show you. So yeah, so I'm in Capel Curig today, and the reason I've come to Capel Curig is I wanted to have a nice walk with Maxi. And also, I wasn't going to go up a hill today because the forecast is so damn bad on all of them. And then when I've got here, the sun's actually shining, but there's a strong wind about. But then we are in Capel Curig. Capel Curig is pretty much the wettest and windiest village in all of Britain. Whenever you see weather warnings, you'll always see Capel Curig. And where I'm parked today is just behind Joe Brown's mountaineering shop in Capel Curig. There's a car park just there. So I've parked up. And today, the walk that I'm going to be taking you on is a walk called the Crimpiau. And the Crimpiau, it's just a wonderful walk. This walk is the perfect walk to go out on if you want to get some good views, but you don't like going up mountains. Yeah, the Crimpiau are magical, you know. They feel like a mountain, but it's not a mountain. But speaking of a mountain, right in front of me now is my favourite mountain, as you all know, Shabod. Look at it, Moyle Shabod, just up there, looking splendid. And what you could just see then isn't the peak of Shabod, it's a bit of a false peak Shabod. It's a bit of a bugger, and as always when I start a video, Max has decided to have a little plop. So I'm going to go so I can pick that up, and I'll speak to you in just a second. So we are literally, well, you can see Joe Brown still behind me. And this is why I like the Crimpiau, because already with Joe Brown's just behind me, you can also see behind me the Glyderau Mountains. Beyond that, you can see Wyddfa and the whole horseshoe. Then behind, or just in front of that, you can see Llyn, one of my favourite lakes. And then you can see Moyle Shabod as well. And if I turn the camera, or if I turn around with the camera, behind me there, you can see the Carneddau as well. So just from this spot, from walking, I don't know, 400 metres up a grassy slope from the car park, I can see all of, other than Tryfan, but I can pretty much see all of the Welsh 3000s, and I've walked 400 metres. So this walk, incredible. And the other reason I'm doing this walk today is it's a boggy walk. And thanks to one of our subscribers to the channel, I've got some new gaiters that I want to try out. And when I say thanks, he didn't buy them me, but he did recommend them to me. And I'm wearing some awfully snazzy Fjällräven Singai gaiters today. So I thought the Crimpiau would be a great walk for them to be tested, because this is a bog fest at times, but not for the beginning part. The beginning part, you're actually following the Snowdonia Slate Trail. So a very well marked route that we're going to be taking. But like me, if you're going to bring your hound, this first part of the walk has got little sheepies everywhere. Llawr or Dafydd, yeah, so lots of sheep on this beginning walk. And you can see the Crimpiau in front of me now, or the start of it, which is just that little mound that you can see there. And as I say, it's not a mountain, but this will make you feel like you're on a mountain. I think, without checking the map, I think it's 427 metres, so a good couple of 100 metres off being a mountain, but a delightful walk. And we're going to get some wicked views. And it's one of my favourite areas to be walking in Capel Curig. It really is. Absolutely a wonderful place. But just to show you the path, how easy it is, there it is in front, the Snowdonia Slate Trail. We're going to be following this for a little while. This trail will take you all the way down to Betters. If I carried on following this, you'd go all the way down Capel Curig, you'd go towards Swallow Falls, and you'd end up in Betters, which is a great walk as well, but not the one we're doing today. But I'm surprised with the weather, man. Honestly, the weather forecast today was like, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening and all that. But actually, it's turned out to be a right splendid afternoon. So I could have probably gone higher today, but it's nice to be with Max. And the other thing that's nice is, you know, I talk about gear all the time on this channel, and how I say, you know, it's not elitist, these hills. They're for everybody. And you don't have to buy flash gear to be able to, you know, do what it is that you want to do outside. That being said, I am pleased with my new flash little hat. Normally, I buy cheap baseball caps at like £5 because I'm tight and I just don't see the point of it. But this was a gift. Nauko bought me a beautiful, I think she was probably bored of me moaning about my head getting burnt. And she's bought me this beautiful mountain equipment baseball cap, which is fully waterproof, sweat-proof, UV-proof. You know, the only thing it doesn't do is massage my scalp really, but it is bloody comfy. So, trying this out today. But, that aside, you don't need flash gear to be outside, guys. You really don't. All right, some of my gear now is certainly more expensive than when I started. But that's just because you find what's comfortable. You find little bits of stuff that you might need. And ultimately, cheaper gear doesn't mean it won't get the job done. What it means is it's usually a bit heavier, which is fine. You know, if you're occasional hiking, walking the dog, then a Peter Storm jacket's going to do you, innit? But if you're out all the time or you're doing a lot of through hiking, then the dearer gear tends to be a lot lighter. So, you know, you're talking a couple of 100 grams instead of a couple of kilos, which on a through hike makes all the difference. And with gaiters, I must say, I've bought cheap and they've been crap. So this time I've bought expensive and we'll see what happens. But straight away, these views again. Let me just show you around. So blowing in the wind down there, you can see the dry goch, the Welsh flag, the dragon flag flying away. That's the A55 you can see down there going through Capel Curig. And then you've got all these stunning forests. You've got absolute beauty, that is Moel Shabod just over there. And again, behind me now, you can see the Glyderau as well. So effortless walk. Yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. And I'll talk to you a little bit more when we get through these wooded bits. And I can let Max off his lead then, and it'll be a bit easier to hold the camera, talk to you, and entertain my dog. But as always, guys, if you want to see more beautiful, right nice places in Eryri and walks from beginners to, you know, difficult mountain hikes, then please like, share and subscribe. Absolutely free to subscribe. So yeah, speak to you all in a second. Ooh, check out them. So once again, hardly any height or there's certainly no difficulty on this walk. You'd bring your grandma on it. But look at the view behind me. Unbelievable. You know, and looking back at Wyddfa now, the forecast was certainly very wrong for today because none of the mountains seemed covered at all. But the forecast was absolutely terrible, which is why I've chosen to do this walk today. But I am glad I've chosen to do it because when I first moved to Wales, Capel Curig is where I called home for my first year here. And it's always held a special place in my heart. I honestly don't believe... Maxie, come here, because you're on a fence there, pal. Come here. You're right. Maxie just face planted into a puddle. It was quite funny. But yeah, I honestly don't think there's a more wonderful community exists out there. It's a lovely place, is Capel. And this walk was something I did often and frequently with our Max because it's just such a good walk, you know. So great for the dog. I'll show you, he's loving his life at the minute, bless him. And again, you know, I've been at work all week. This is my first day off. So it's always nice to spend time with my little furry best friend, you know. Nice to see some families about at the crossroads at the river, and that's where we'll make our first decision of the day, really. So when we get to that stream, we're going to swing a left as if we were walking towards Llyn Crafnant, which is a stunning lake, and I will take you there on a walk one day soon, but I don't want to do that walk without Nauko, because I mentioned in my previous video it was our first date there. So if I am going to go back there for this video or for this channel, I feel it only right and proper that I do it with her. So today we're going to head similar direction, but then we're going to go up onto them hills that you can see towards my left, and I'm going to have to delay you, you know. This weather, it's nothing like it was meant to be. So yes, I'm going to go for a second, because I'm going to put Max in his lead because his kid's playing in this stream, and I'm going to delay them, and I am absolutely, I mean, I am hot stuff. Anyway, I'm going to delay it. The weather is so good today, and because it's so good today, I'm going to let you in for a little treat. I'm going to add a little bit of time onto my walk because I'm in no rush today, and this is genuinely, if I was gonna walk and not stop and film and yada yada yada, I reckon this walk could probably take me a max of about an hour and a half. But when you're stopping and filming and jogging back and stuff for certain shots and looking like a lunatic to anybody watching you, it takes a little bit longer, doesn't it? But because I'm not in a rush, although I am off out this evening, another thing that's good for mental health is not being alone. You know, it's important to get out and exercise, and I genuinely believe this is the best thing for mental health, but so are your friends. So tonight I shall be going out with the boys and acting like a bit of a plonker for a few hours before crashing at my mate's house, because it's our mate's birthday, you know. And sometimes, lads, that's what we need, you know. We live in a world where women and girls will tell you that they need girl time or a girls' night out. And people kind of shun boys and their time together, whether it be playing on a PlayStation Live so they're all communicating and talking, or whether it's just a pint at the pub. You need bloke time too, because we live in a world where men can't really be men anymore without causing some kind of offence, and sometimes you just want to be in a safe space with the people you know have got your back, and you can just have a bloody good laugh and a bloody good rant and put the world to rights. So that's what I'll be doing tonight as well. So a double dose of mental well-being today. But the other thing I'm going to do today is share one of my absolute favourite brew spots in all of Eryri with you. And I don't do that with just anybody, let me tell you. It is a slight detour, but I feel it is worth it, and I like a brew. So yeah, so we'll probably do that as well. Maxie there, having the time of his life. I love being out with the dog when we've not spent much time together all week. And when you look around me now, guys, it's very easy to see why Max is having the time of his life, isn't it? I mean, the backdrop, and you can see the path behind me. This is a doddle of a path, you know. But we are coming up to the point now where we will swing a left up into those hills just there. And that's when the path becomes less of a path, if you know what I mean. So, in fact, I don't think there's many marked trails up there. Certainly nothing on the OS map. So, you've got to pick your path. It isn't boggy, marshy, but what it will do is offer you splendid views. But before we go up the Crimpiau there, I did promise you that I'd take you to my favourite brew spot, or one of my favourite brew spots. So that requires me all this effort just for you guys. I'm going to have to walk down a steep hill to walk back up that steep hill just to show you this brew spot, but it is totally worth the effort. I can't believe how warm I am. That wind's got a chill to it, but we'll see how good this new cap is at absorbing the old sweaty Rooney. It seems to be doing a good job so far. And I could probably take the shades off. I'm in a bit of shade. Shades off for the shade. I could probably take them off now, but you know, it's protecting the old eyes from the wind, so that's quite nice. But yeah, so you should take a left if you want to take the Crimpiau. But I'm continuing down this path just a little bit. You can see the forest in front of me and where this sort of valley starts to open up. And I'm not going to show you too much until I get there, because the first time I saw this view, this spot, breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. And I think it's also the first time I cooked for Nauco was at this spot as well. You know, so a little bit special, a little bit romantical, you know, all that jazz. But no, it is a good spot. I only hope no buggers sat there, because if I was walking past here for the first time and I saw that little spot, I'd stop there. In fact, I did, which is why it's now one of my favourites. So we're going down this little rocky path, and this is where the trail stops really. I'll show you. Obviously it's a clear path, but this is where, if you have any walking difficulties, bad knees, bad hips, you know, stuff like that, you might want to not do this and just turn back on yourself at the end of that trail and you will have had a lovely day out, you know, or you could have continued to Betws-y-Coed, which is an easier trail as well. So plenty up here for everybody and for all walkers. You know, I don't care if you've summited K2, this is still a beautiful walk, and I don't care if your biggest walk you've ever done is around the park with your dog in the middle of Manchester. You could easily accomplish this walk if you want to see something beautiful. And we're almost at that brew spot, so I'm going to speak to you again in just a sec. So as promised, here is one of the favourite brew spots in all of Eryri, and as I guessed, somebody is already here, so I'm not going to stay on for too long because it's weird me talking to a stick. But behind me there, you can see Llyn Crafnant, which is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Now, you could continue the walk all the way down to Llyn Crafnant, and I'll show you that on a different video. But for now, I'm going to stop here and have a quick brew. But honestly, what a mesmerising place this is for a brew. And as I said, the first place me and Nauko came on our date, I cooked her a meal here. It's wicked. So yeah, a top place to stop, just above Llyn Crafnant. You can carry on all the way down there. If you went over the left, you'd get to Cowlyd Maxi. And if you went over the right, you'd get to Garryonif. But we're not doing that today. I'm going to go back up the track in a second and we'll carry on the Crimpiau. But I just wanted to show you this awesome, awesome brew spot. So yeah, well worth a stop. So there we go, brew time over. Sorry I didn't video at that brew stop. There was, as I said, somebody sat there as well, and I didn't want to disturb their moment, you know. It's rude, isn't it? But I did end up having a nice chat to the chap. He was from Abergele, which is on the north coast of Wales. He was doing, funnily enough, the Crafnant loop that I was talking about for the first time. But what I've done, as promised, is I've come back on myself, and I'm now walking up this little sheep track to take me to the top of the Crimpiau, where we're going to walk all along the ridge, and we're going to come back down near Joe Brown. So it's a real lovely, easy circular, this. Great route for beginners. Great route for anybody who enjoys a view, really. But if you're looking for walks in Eryri that aren't going to test your technical ability, but are going to give you maximum rewards, then this is it. Anyway, I layered up while I was having a brew, because that wind is chilly, and I've already got a sweat on now. But see where this little sheep track just goes through, and it's not a scramble or anything, folks. You're just going up a rocky path, you know. If I remember, there's a little bit of using your hands somewhere, I think, but we'll come to it. But this is the path for now. And as you start approaching the top of this path, it becomes a little bit easier to spot. And all of a sudden, you're rewarded again with mesmerising views to your left there, looking right out across Capel Curig, and all the way up the pass towards Wyddfa. So absolutely wicked. And again behind me now, you know, that's taken me maybe 3 or 4 minutes to get to where I am up that little sheep track, and you're just instantly in this awesome, lonely, isolated world. And it was a shame I couldn't get the camera out quick enough, because as I was coming up that sheep track, a couple of F-35s come swooping past, which is always awesome to see, isn't it? And as always, when you see them, you think, I'm bloody glad they're on our side. And fair play to the Royal Air Force and all the service personnel in this country, because they do a bloody good job at protecting us all, don't they? And I love to see them train. Anyway, on this path, and I'm glad I did layer up when I'm having a brew, because the wind up here, I mean, I can't complain about the weather at all. In my rucksack today, I've got full Gore-Tex with me, including my Gore-Tex Pro jacket, because it really was predicted to be horrendous, and it's turned out to be a right nice day, just that wind chill, you know. Anyway, hello, you okay? Yeah. Oh. He's coming down, is he? Good stuff. This way, Maxi. There we go. How good's that to see a young lad out with his dad, having a walk and enjoying all that's good in the world. And speaking of the whole world, feels like you can see it now. Oof, that wind's cold, but look at that. Simply stunning, folks. Simply stunning. And once again, this highlights to me that Eryri has got so much to offer, or so much more to offer than just those famous honey pot sites of, you know, Wyddfa and Eryri and all that jazz. These backwater walks are just as excellent. As you can see behind me, and the views and the path in front of me. Oh, he said I shouldn't tempt fate. Whenever I say the path's easy, I always slip. There's a few little rocky bits here that I'm walking up, but it's clearly visible where you're going. And you know, as you can see, I'm not using my hands or anything. It's just a nice, easy rocky path, you know. Nothing wrong with it at all. Show you in front. Nice and simple. And behind me there as well. And then if the camera follows me, I don't know if you can see just at the bottom of the valley there, there's that really simple track snaking through the landscape that we made our way up. So yeah, and so far this rain's holding off. I'm so pleased, because obviously I like walking and I like my Gore-Tex, but I don't like walking in my Gore-Tex. Sound like a big crisp packet, don't you? And you just turn into a sweaty mess. But that wind up here now is very, very chilly. And if I show you the path in front of me, this is where you might think, oh, it's a bit scary. It's not. It's like one of the easiest paths I've ever shown you. You see where Mac's going, and just up that, you can see the little gap in the rocks. That's the way we're going to take. And I'm sure at the top there's a little bit where you might have to use a hand, if I remember right. It's been 2 years since I did this walk. Then once you're over the tops, you'll see a little lake. And then you just got to mooch across bog and pick a path, really, until you get back down Capel. And as I said, if you've got a couple of hours to spare and you want really good views, then I cannot recommend the Crimpiau enough. It's wicked. The views are just stupid. And whenever I come back here, I do kind of always miss living in Capel. I mean, I've drove here today and it's taken me 20 minutes from my home, just on the outskirts of Bethgelert. So obviously it's not a big drive, and I live in Bethgelert. I mean, some of the greatest walks in Eryri are there too. But this place, it does hold special significance in my heart. And I only spent a year here. I've lived other places longer. But it's just, I always talk about it, don't I? The magic and the majesty of certain areas in North Wales, and this is certainly one of them. Woo. Max is loving it though. So am I, to be honest. I needed this today. I had one of them mornings to morning. I wasn't in a rush to wake up because it's your day off work, and I've been getting up at 5, 6 every day for the last week for work, so it's nice to have a bit of a lie-in. But you know, when you find that sweet spot in your bed in the morning, you don't find it at night, do you? But I was in that sweet spot this morning. I got up, I opened the back door to let Max out and just lay back down having a brew for a bit. And I was like, I can't be arsed today. And I remembered to sort of practice what I preach, and if you can't be arsed, then that's a slippery slope, and that's your own mental health kicking in trying to get you to do nothing. So you've got to fight it, haven't you? And I'm certainly glad I did. And I'm certainly glad I come here, because it's still the school holidays, but this is a lonely walk. Because it's, well, I say it's not well known, that's a lie. A lot of people know about the Crimpiau, and Trail magazine have featured it a couple of times. I think the last time they did was back in March. So people know about it. But look at it behind me, you know. We're coming up this hill, and it's no effort at all. He says breathing heavily. But it's a simple enough walk, it really is. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you when we get to the top, because what I'm hoping for is another nice little brew with a view, you know. So we'll stop. As I said, I'm not in a rush today. Going out with the boys later, but I'm not certainly going out with the boys at 2 in the afternoon. Jesus, I'd be a mess come 6. I'm not 19 anymore. And you know, the other, I don't know if anybody else who's in the 40s suffers from the beer fear like I do. But you know, when the thought of the hangover outweighs the thought of a good time, you're sort of like, oh, I don't know, there's those out there, see, well, you don't have to drink to have a good time. No, you don't, but no good story ever started with a salad, did it? So, there you go. Oh, up this last little stony path. I've started videoing because, exactly as I anticipated, this is one hell of a view of the Ogwen Valley. Look at that in front of me now. So you can see the Glyderau on your immediate left. To the left of them you can see the massive of Wyddfa. Directly in front, the mighty Tryfan, that's the one that looks like a stegosaurus. And then turning to the right, you can see all the Carneddau as well. So, an effortless trek to get you to this point and to see what is ultimately a very beautiful place indeed. And what a view. What an absolute view this is. So we're going to walk around the tops here, come back around. I'm going to try and find somewhere out of this wind for a brew spot. This would be the ideal place to sit and have a brew, but that wind is ice cold. It is a bit windy to sit here and have a brew, but this view of the Ogwen Valley is something to behold. So I could always put a coat on, I suppose, couldn't I? That's why we have them. Oh, that's a big step, Max, isn't it? But yeah, it's breathtaking. You can see Llyn Crafnant as well in front of me now. I've taken that extra step. Look at that. Where else in the world, or what else can you do that's this beautiful and costs no money? Unbelievable. But I'm not standing in this wind for a brew. I'm going to drop down somewhere. I'm going to find a little shelter. I'll speak to you when I do. See you in a second. Well, look at this for a place to stop at for a brew. What a right nice place, and what a right nice place to have a brew with a view. What you're looking at behind me is the entirety of the Ogwen Valley. From this point, we talked about the Welsh 3000s earlier. From this spot I can see every one of the Welsh 3000s, and I've done zero effort to get here. But I'm going to have a brew. I might not have done much effort, but it's always time for a Yorkshire tea, isn't there? And today I've brought the jet boil with me in case I got hungry, but I knew it was such a short route that I pre-made a flask today before I come. But yeah, look at these views. What a spot this is. And I've managed to get out of that wind a little bit. There's two big crags or two big boulders either side of me that's blocking that wind. I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but that view of the Ogwen Valley is just stunning. You've got Penarroyl just down there, which leads you up to the Carneddau, and you've got Dafydd, Llywelyn, and just beyond that is Gwenllian. The Stegosaurus, as we've already mentioned, is the mighty Tryfan, the one that has the most call-outs. And then you've got the Glyderau on your left there as well. And just out of view for you, but certainly in view for me, is Wyddfa itself, and Moel Shabod as well, which isn't one of the Welsh 3000s, but as I always tell you, I certainly love the little place. So yeah, I'm going to sit here now. I'm going to have a brew. I'm going to have a Yorkshire tea. Bit skint this month. It's not Yorkshire Tea Gold. I'm still waiting for that sponsorship. It's just normal Yorkshire tea. You know, in my head then, but I won't say the word on YouTube. But in my head then, just came an image of Sean Bean when I said I'm not sponsored by Yorkshire Tea. And if you know what Sean Bean's famous quote is that he says in every movie, I'll give you a clue. It begins with B and it means to be married out of wedlock. I almost said it, but I won't. But anyway, Yorkshire Tea, I think it's about time you sponsored me, don't you? Anyway, what a right nice place. I'm going to go now and enjoy this brew. Thanks very much. Oh, let's put that burger on there though before it goes away. But for now, guys, thanks for watching me on this uneven, steady ground, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thank you very much. So I'm just coming down from the top where we've just had that brew. And a minute I've left that brew spot, that wind is really quite brutal again. It's not cold, the wind's cold, but the sun's out, so it's one of them hard ones, but certainly glad I've got my fleece on. The walk in front of me now, you can see, there's the lake that I mentioned earlier, just slightly to the left of the screen. The big lake that you can see centre of screen or slightly to the right, that's Llyn Crafnant, and obviously that's Wyddfa that you can see in the distance beyond that. So even on the descent on the way down from this hill, the views are just as spectacular as when you're at the top and when you're walking up. And you know, and this is why, this is part of the walk that I always thought, this isn't the full walk, but this is part of the walk that I always said was some of my favourite views in Eryri. And you know, I poo-pooed that last week when I was on Connect with Nauco, and I've said, like, you know, this one is the one. But now I'm back here, I'm sort of like, is it? But no, I do think the walk I did on the last video, the views, you see so much more because you see the Cambrians and things like that, and you see more of sort of South Eryri. But this one is just so much easier, perhaps, in terms of distance. You don't need as much time to do it. You're nowhere near the height. 400 and something meters is the highest you're getting, and I'm already on my way down. And I've had a couple of brews that I probably didn't need to stop for, but you stop whenever you feel like it, don't you, when you're out? That's why I enjoy hiking over fell running. Well, not only that, I'm also not fit enough to be a fell runner, but hiking, you can take your sweet ass time, you can have a brew wherever you want, and you're always rewarded by all this magnificence. And you can see where the path goes down there now, and you can see just in front of the lake is where it ends. So you just shifty around the lake to get to the other side, but unfortunately in that time you're going to be walking through bogs. So that's great, because that's why we've come today. We're here to test out the Fjällräven Singai gaiters, which should be on like Cotswold and the Fjällräven site. 75 quid, a lot of money for gaiters. But I found them on a website called The Mountain People. I'll post a link in the description. They cost me £52 with delivery, so a much better price. And as I say, you don't always have to buy brands and stuff. You can go out and buy cheaper gaiters, but as I've demonstrated in the last couple of my videos, gaiters really aren't something to buy cheap, because it's just false economy. I've gone through a pair of Mountain Warehouse and I've gone through a pair of Peter Storm, and both times they've cost me 25-30 quid. So obviously those two pairs I should have just bought the Fjällräven to begin with. So yeah, a bit of false economy there. Anyway, I'm going to oh bloody hell, sorry, the reason I went oh bloody hell is a little pheasant just come out of the bush next to me, or something come out of the bush next to me and just took me out of my little zone. I'm going to go though, because around this little lake I can see a few little sheep, so I want to get Max back on the lead before he causes any problems. So we've come down past that lake, across the bog and onto a very rickety stile. That thankfully I didn't have to lift Max over, because there was a little hole in the fence next to it, which was quite handy. But yeah, I've come back down off that little rocky path, and you're back on quite a well visible, that was a terrible use of the English language, wasn't it? But a very visible path as you make your slow way back across bog towards Capel Curig and Joe Brown's car park. That was a lot of bog around that tiny little lake, and I must confess, the gaiters are holding up well, but then I'd expect them to as well. We've only done like a 4 mile walk, but that's more than the others have lasted. I know I'm probably quite heavy on my feet, being 95 kilos and 6'2". I'm probably a heavy beast for little gaiter straps to deal with, especially with my big boots on, but you expect things to last, don't you? I love this though, looking at one of the most beautiful things I have in my life. And I know I always talk about her, but look at her, look at Shabod. An absolute splendour of a hill. A big old girl, beautiful, welcoming, certainly to me, and just awe-inspiring, that mountain to me. I don't know why I hold such affinity and love in my heart, but I really do, Hiraeth is the only word I know that can describe it, and that's our first real Welsh word for today, and possibly one of the coolest of all Welsh words. Hiraeth doesn't have a literal translation, so normally where it pops up on the screen, whoop, today I will pop it on the screen, but Hiraeth is more of a feeling than a word, like a description. It's like, oh my word, and this view in a moment can describe Hiraeth way better than my English tongue ever can. Let me spin this camera around, and this for me sums up Hiraeth. Beautiful. And if you're wondering what Hiraeth is and you're not getting it from that image, it's a feeling, it's a longing, it's a desire and a need to be back in the valleys and the hills and the mountains and the lakes and the fresh air. It's a feeling of knowing that when you're here and you're somewhere special. It's a feeling of belonging, a feeling of home, and that's exactly what I feel, all of those things, when I'm here in Eryri. And I really hope you discover those feelings too when you visit right nice places like this. But this, Jesus, I mean, people talk about walking on Wyddfa for the views, but I'll always say it, I think the best views are looking at the mountain itself rather than from it. And I'll show you one last time, because it's ace, isn't it? That is absolutely ace, and you can see the river in front leading into Llyn Crafnant now, and you should be able to see Plas y Brenin, the mountain climbing school. and we're going to go over that little cusp of a hill with a heather on it, and then you'll be able to see the end point. So we're really not far away at all. But as I say, wasn't looking for a long walk today. I was looking for a good walk. I was looking to spend time with Maxine. I was looking to clear my head before I go out with the boys and make it all foggy again a little bit later on. But yeah, I'll speak to you again just at the bottom of this hill before I sign off for the day, just so you can see the final part of the path. But you can see where I'm about to come down this little rocky steps here. Just in front of me, you might be able to see Max going down them already. Then you might be able to see the green indent in the land where we're going to swing a right between those two little clefts of heathery rock. And then we'll be back onto the path on which we started. And I'll speak to you when I've got down these rocky bits, because I don't fancy slipping on my arse. Come on. Oh, whoa! Oh, how cool was that? I was about to go, I'm glad I didn't. Let's hope another one flies by in just a second. Wow, that was close. There's another reason to come here, guys. Flybys by the RAF. Dear me, that was close. I'll hang on for a second just in case another one comes by. They usually come in twos, like buses, but deadly and fast. So I'm really close to the end of the walk now. You can see where I came through the rocks just behind me, and this landscape behind me is absolute bog territory. I knew it was. It's not a surprise to me, and that's why I came here. I wanted to test out these gaiters, and I must say, so far they are very, very good. I'm very impressed. That was some seriously deep bog that I've just mooched across, and it wasn't a problem. There's no leakage or anything, and I bet my boots are looking pristine when I get back. But if I just stop here a moment, you can just see now the roof. Maybe you can see the roof of the building in front of me. That's Joe Brown's. That's the start point. So I'm just going down this little path, or this track on the boggy field, and then we'll be back pretty much where we started on that Snowdonia Slate Trail. And yeah, this walk, guys, zero technicality. Again, there's a little bit at the top of the Crimpiau where you might have to use a hand just to balance yourself, but it's by no means a scramble. It's only because the footing's a little bit loose in places. But yeah, there's zero technicality. A perfect walk again for beginners. Again, I wouldn't come on your own if you're a beginner, just because you're not lonely up here. You're never that far from an A road, but it's got that feeling of making you feel very isolated. To come in a group, by all means, or in a couple or whatever. And when I'm saying it's an easy walk, again, the weather today is splendid for walking. Visibility is absolutely phenomenal. So of course this walk's easy. I can check my path ahead of me. There's no need for compass bearings or navigation, other than knowing where you're up to on the map, obviously. So a really easy walk, really great for everybody. I've done it as a quick walk today, just so I could spend some time with Max and get out a little bit. But you could certainly turn it into a bit of a day event. I saw families on the route with picnics and whatnot who were stopping by streams. And I think this walk would be fine for kids as well, for little legs, because it would be a proper adventure to them. And as I say, Crimpiau is not a mountain, but it gives you the feeling of being on one simply because of the height and the views you get from that position. Oh, this is boggy, Max. So yeah, a wicked walk. So as always, if you've enjoyed today's walk, please do like, please do share, and obviously please do subscribe to the channel. Absolutely free to subscribe, and it makes me want to keep coming out and doing it, which is great for my mental health and hopefully pretty decent for your entertainment as well. So thank you for joining me at Right Nice Places. I've been Dan, and I'll see you all soon.